In this video, I want to share with you 5 social media trends that I'm predicting will be dominant in the years ahead. Right now, we're seeing a dramatic shift in the social media landscape, the kind that we see every few years. And with changes like this comes outstanding opportunity and potential. The other side of that coin, though, is if you're not paying attention, one day you can wake up and the rhythms and posting patterns of social can be unrecognizable to you. But that's what this video is for. We're gonna tackle what I see to be the biggest, most fundamental changes that you need to know. So let's dive in. Well, hey there, I'm Brady Shearer. This is Pro Church Tools, and we're here to help you and your church navigate the biggest communication shift in 500 years. If we're just meeting for the first time, consider subscribing and join the more than 100,000 churches and church leaders as we go along on this journey together. And please hit the like button, the thumbs up button on this video if you're enjoying the content, because it really does help make a difference. Now let's get started. First up, we've got social media trend number 1. This is one I've been sitting on for a while, but I came across a TikTok the other day that I can't get out of my head, and it really crystallized this idea for me. The creator of the video said this:
almost all of his videos are frequent, short, and to the point. Nobody wants to watch 15-minute videos that are uploaded once or twice a month anymore.
So this is what's so fascinating to me. At its core, that statement is basically pitting the 2 biggest video platforms of YouTube and TikTok against each other. It's the thesis of TikTok, short, more informal, frequent videos, versus the thesis of YouTube, longer, maybe more polished, infrequent videos and publishing. And this goes beyond just YouTube and TikTok now, because Instagram has already announced it's making dramatic platform changes to lean more into video in response to TikTok. YouTube has introduced Shorts in response to TikTok. Facebook Watch is one of the 5 major focuses of Facebook. You can see that reflected in their navigation menu. And what we're seeing in real time is TikTok completely changing our viewing habits and dramatically altering the entire landscape of social media due to its influence, and I only expect that to increase going forward. Now, if TikTok and short form video is still a bit of a mystery to you, I've published a number of videos to help with that. They'll be linked in the description below. I'd start with the first 4 TikTok videos your church needs to make, and then check out Instagram Reels for churches and why it's so important. Now, if you're like me at all, you might be wondering, just how and why is TikTok being so influential? I mean, sure, it's one thing for an app to get popular, but why is it transcending to other social apps and affecting the rhythms of social beyond itself? And that leads me to social media trend number 2. Now, if you were born after the year 2000, this may not make as much sense for you, but as a 30-year-old that's been here since the beginning of social, the general behavior for most of us has been, when a new social platform emerges, we join it. Basically, if you were a digital native, you were on all the major platforms. Facebook and YouTube were the earliest platforms that are still with us today, and I'm on both of those. Then came Twitter, I'm on that. Instagram, I'm on that too. Snapchat, well, before its features were replicated by Instagram and others, yes. TikTok, yes. But I don't see this being the case going forward. Think of it this way. We've now been through at least 2 cycles where the dominant social platform, first Facebook and then Instagram, has lost its number 1 spot. And keeping up with this pace of change is difficult. Basically, what we're seeing right now is social's version of popular music changing over. My parents would say to me, your music is so immature, it's obscene. Now my age group is saying to younger people, your social apps are so immature and obscene, I just don't get it. And so what's gonna happen is you're gonna have pockets of age groups just stick with the social platform they grew up on, even when it's no longer the most popular or influential, just like with music. And this phenomenon is fascinating to me because, again, like popular music changing over, one day you wake up and you really just don't vibe with the music on the radio or on the charts, and you think to yourself, man, music sure has changed. They just don't make it the way they used to. And sure, it's true that music has changed, but it's changed because you are no longer its target audience. Fashion is the same way. I'm 30 years old, and when I was 20, I couldn't go to church on a Sunday without an older parishioner saying something like, you paint those jeans on, or how do you sit down in pants that tight? And now I'm sourcing straight leg jeans because the baggier trend of the 2000s has already reincarnated. The point is this: The reason TikTok is having such an outsized influence on social media as a whole is because it has captured the attention of the newest generation, Gen Z. And sure, Gen Z is young now. They're in grade school, high school, post-secondary perhaps. So they don't really qualify as big consumers in our capitalistic societies yet, meaning they're not influencing housing trends and birth rate and politics, but in the blink of an eye, they will be. Because here's the thing. Traditionally, we don't pay too much attention as a culture to the youth. Sure, they're a primary influence in music and fashion, but that's about it. Except now, they're also the biggest drivers behind social and its trajectory, which has massive implications for society as a whole because of how dominant social is. And frankly, this gives the young people of today power and influence that previous generations never came close to. As it relates to social, short-form video is not a trend, it's a permanent fixture. And not only is it now the preferred way of consuming content for many, it's starting to make other mediums feel antiquated. And speaking of antiquated, losing a percentage of your church's online giving to fees, that's also outdated. Not the most elegant of segues there, I'll admit it, but we're gonna go with it. I lead a company called Pro Church Tools. We run this YouTube channel. We're also the developers behind a software platform for churches called Nucleus. Thousands of churches have paid memberships on our platform, and one of the products within Nucleus is called Nucleus Giving. And the reason we built this product was because when you're choosing a giving provider for your church, the most important factor you need to consider are the fees. And that's because if you overlook this, you're gonna end up likely losing thousands of dollars that were given to your church to said fees. Here's how it works. Most giving providers will end up charging you around 3% to process a gift to your church. So if someone gives $100 digitally, you get to keep 97 of those dollars and the other $3 cover the fees. And this might just seem like the cost of doing business, and to a degree it is. All digital transactions have fees, whether you're giving to your church or paying for your bill at dinner. The problem for me and my team though, and why we built Nucleus Giving in the first place, is that nearly every major giving company in the church world artificially inflates these giving fees to ensure they get to keep a cut of every tithe and offering for themselves before they pass on the rest to pay the processing company for their cut. In the industry, this is known as rev share. And this is also why some giving companies can advertise $0 per month plans, because it requires you to hand over a percentage of every donation you receive in perpetuity to them with no cap. And this was, up until recently, the standard in the world of church giving. We wanted to introduce a new standard, which is why Nucleus Giving exists. We never keep any of your church's donations for ourselves, meaning we have the lowest fees in the industry. And the fees that we can't avoid are passed on to the giver rather than your church, so you never lose any part of a gift due to fees. And then for the giver, if they don't want to pay a percentage fee, we provide a path to avoid those percentage fees altogether through giving via their bank account. So that way, no one, not us, not your church, and not the giver, are forced to pay these fees that slowly add up and cost the average church thousands of dollars per year. Now, let me be clear, there's a lot that goes into making a decision at your church when it comes to picking a giving provider. So if you want to explore this more, there's a link in the description to Nucleus Giving. You can also go directly to nucleus.church/giving and learn more. You can demo what it's like to give on our platform. You can click this button here that says learn about our pricing model if you want to go in depth into how the math works on all of this. You can use our Nucleus Giving savings calculator to project how much your church could expect to recoup from lost fees in the first year. You can even adjust the calculations in the calculator if you've got more precise numbers you'd like to compare. Or hey, talk with us directly if you've got questions you'd like to answer. Just click shoot us a message at the bottom of the page. And again, the link for Nucleus Giving is in the description, or you can go directly to nucleus.church/giving. Let's continue now with our social media trends. This is number 3, and if you've spent any amount of time on TikTok, you're certainly familiar with creators that split their content up into multiple videos. And they'll end a video saying something like, continued in part 2. And it's not always the best experience for us as users, especially when you never get resolution on what the original video was all about, but it is effective at getting people to engage with more of your content. There's a better way to do this though, a series. TikTok released this feature earlier in 2021, they call it playlists. And this is when you create a series of content around a single idea and group it all together. So I've been doing this a ton recently on TikTok and Instagram with my short form videos. Basically, I'll share a complete thought in a single video, and then I plug another similar video dropping soon. So here's what one of those looks like at the end. If you look at the letter A on this design, like in God's got a plan for your future, The A looks lowercase. That's just what all the A's look like in the SOAP font. You can also see it in the word plan here, just a little quirk of this font. Look for part 3. And what's great about this is that if you liked the first video that you saw of mine and want more, you can dive deeper into my content. On the other side of things, if you liked this original video of mine that you saw, but you just want to keep scrolling anyway, I'm not going to leave a bad taste in your mouth by not completing the original idea that I promised. And then finally, if you struggle with coming up with new content ideas all the time, creating content in series is super helpful for that. And obviously, we as churches should be no strangers to this idea. The next Sunday is always coming, which is partly why we've been preaching in series for as long as we have. This is that same idea, but applied to social, and this should come somewhat naturally to us as churches because we've already embraced this content creation rhythm elsewhere. Moving on to social media trend number 4. This one is truly wild. So, for the last 100 years or so, the following statement has been true for most people. Those that are geographically proximate are also ideologically proximate, meaning you likely share more in common with your next door neighbor than you do with someone across the country or across the world. But the internet inverts this, okay? Because now many of us find ourselves ideologically closest to people hundreds or thousands of miles away, while we very likely might be ideologically opposite to our neighbors or family. And this is thanks to social and the internet, because I can now find like-minded folks on even the most obscure topics in, let's say, a subreddit, and feel like I've found my people and found belonging, which in turn makes the distance between those geographically close to me seem even greater. And it's really hard to articulate just how impactful and far-reaching this phenomenon is going to be, but it's something to be mindful of because it's already dramatically affecting our day-to-day life. Now, obviously, this isn't a trend that's happening on social media per se, it's happening because of social media, but it just illustrates how colossal of a force social is. Because just imagine a polarizing topic that we're working through now in another era. Let's take the COVID vaccine, because as of this recording, it's one of the biggest that we have right now. Let's say this was happening in the 1990s. You'd have a newspaper perhaps, and a couple of news channels as your primary influences on an issue like this. An issue where you and I don't have the expertise needed to come to an informed opinion. So we have to trust what someone else says that presumably does have the expertise needed. So imagine you're talking to your neighbor about the vaccine. Well, almost certainly they read the same newspaper you do, or watch the same nightly news as you, and saw the same interview with the same doctor and thus came to the same conclusion. Well, now enter the internet, and essentially an infinite number of sources, experts, those posing as experts and the like. And now when you talk to your neighbor about an issue, contentious or not, you have no idea where they're coming from, what they're watching and reading, whom they're trusting until you talk to them. And this is creating a ton of ideological disparity between those closest to us geographically. Naturally, this has big implications for any organization that operates in a local context. And of course, we as churches qualify. So again, something to be mindful of. I'd say just try to start looking for it, because it's something that we're absolutely going to need to contend with as it reshapes so much of what we've come to know about tribes and belonging and shared beliefs. Finally, the last trend for this video. This isn't a new trend. It's one I've seen recycle itself, I don't know, at least a dozen times now it feels. The thing is, we've hit the point with TikTok now where it's not as easy to see breakthrough growth as it once was. If you'd watched any of the TikTok videos I published a year or more ago, you would have found me pleading with you to jump in now because there was so much opportunity and so much to be gained, but that it wouldn't last forever. And this reminds me of a cycle I see with virtually every social platform of prominence. And if you're trying to grow on social and you're not seeing traction, this may be the reason. This type of thing can happen to anyone, but in my experience, it is especially prevalent amongst churches. Here's how it goes. First, a new platform gains influence, usually with young people, because it's doing something different. Next, people criticize the new platform and label it a gimmick. You know, we did this with Instagram. Isn't that app just for taking pictures of food? We did it with Snapchat. Why would I post content just for it to disappear? We did it with TikTok. Isn't that app just for dancing? And then, while skeptics are busy criticizing, others take advantage of this amazing new opportunity. They build an audience, build influence, connect with people, and then finally, as this platform matures and evolves beyond its original gimmick, the same brands and people, churches and church leaders that once criticized it, create accounts and eventually complain about how hard it is to grow on social because it's just too saturated. And in 2 years, the cycle will repeat all over again. The only way to sidestep this cycle is to be aware of it and take the risk the next time a new platform comes around. It's easy when a new platform has matured to think to yourself, why didn't I get started earlier? It's much harder when the platform is still emerging to fully commit, because you'll have doubts in the back of your mind, like, well, what if I invest a ton of time and the platform never matures? What if this is just a fad? Or just dealing with the new platform and all its nuances. The reason the new platform is emerging in the first place is probably because it's doing something novel, but that's also what makes it intimidating sometimes to start publishing, because it feels foreign and there's a learning curve. This is just the cycle of how things go. Being aware of it gives you a greater chance next time of jumping in when others are not yet ready to, which is where the vast majority of opportunity lies. Thanks as always for your time, attention, and trust. If you watched to this point in the video, thank you. Can you leave a comment below just letting me know which of these 5 trends was most eye-opening to you, if any, which gave you that light bulb moment? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. We'll talk real soon.